All right, so today we will continue on with the chaplaincy on the last time we stopped on slide number 20. And we will continue on so we can wrap this session up on the chaplaincy. All right, Dr. White, Bishop Lamont, thank you for being here and being part of the team.
Welcome, Excellency.
On slide 20. All right, Bishop, do you want to start off with slide, just do the introduction of AUGP and the acknowledgements of everyone, and then let's get started.
So just give me a second. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Academy of Universal Global Peace. I bring you greetings from His Eminence, Most Reverend Founder and Chairman, Dr. Madhu Krishan. I bring you greetings to Chief Governor, His Excellency, Reverend Dr. Kiwi Kalloo. I also bring you greetings of His Excellency, Archbishop Reverend David Olivier Sia. His Excellency Reverend Dr. Damian Ramesser, Ambassador at Large, and myself, Bishop Joseph Lamont, and I also bring you greetings on one of our members also that is with us, Her Excellency Dr. Cheryl White. We are the team that is going to be with you tonight as we share principles of the chaplaincy as it relates to ministering, reaching out to those that are in need at such a time as this. And so we'd like to continue where we left off from. We are at slide number 20, and we're going to start with disaster spiritual care. I want to thank Chief Governor Kiwi Kalloo for the opportunity of sharing, and my fellow laborer and tutor, Dr. Cheryl White, that will share the platform also with us in going a little further today. So point number one, it says, during disasters, a diverse cross-section of people seeks spiritual care. Chaplains will be challenged to support and offer an open environment with respect to religious diversity, social diversity, and unfamiliar cultural and mass care settings. The following tips can help during relief efforts. I want to read part of that statement again. Chaplains will be challenged to support and offer an open environment with respect to religious diversity. As you know, there are cultures, there are religious diversity that is very many across the earth. And so it is wise that as chaplains, we can learn some things of the religious diversity across the earth. Social diversity and unfamiliar, and this is what I think we need to pay attention to, the unfamiliar cultural and mass care settings. So sometimes we can go to do something and we are not sure with the culture of the person. And by saying or doing something, we can readily offend them and not realizing that we have offended them because we did not take the time out just to study what are their cultural background so we can blend in together and help. So point number two in bringing relief efforts.
Bishop, before we go to point number two, I just wanted to share a point on that, where it says chaplains will be challenged to support and offer an environment, an open environment with respect to religious diversity. Now, just to share a point here, it's easy to love your own. It's easy to love your own because your own is your own and you're familiar and you have a relationship. It becomes difficult when you have to love somebody else that is not your own, and there are challenges not knowing all the commonalities. It becomes more difficult. That's a nice background there, Nels. So it's easy to love your own. It's easy to love your own children. When you have to love somebody else's children, that's a different task. It's easy to love your own brothers or your own sisters. Well, not all the time, but you know what I'm saying. You have to deal with people from different backgrounds and cultures and attitudes and personalities. There is a challenge. So as chaplains, we have to be able to accommodate people from, regardless of their backgrounds, their religious backgrounds, their social backgrounds, whatever that might be. And when you're chartering these unfamiliar grounds, it takes a lot more, but in our minds, we have to be prepared and equipped to address everybody and treat everybody equally and fairly. Go ahead, Bishop, second point.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Point number 2, report to whomsoever, as we deal with disaster spiritual care, report to whoever is in charge within the incident command system. So if there is a disaster, there will be a chaplain, a senior chaplain, or so to speak, that will be in charge, and you present your badge, you present your ID, you present yourself in a manner that, in humility, that you want to help, and you report to that individual, and you wait patiently, not being agitated, while you can view the scene, look around and see what's happening, and wait for that opportunity when given the command to do so, and you do it with all your heart. Point number 3, you offer spiritual care through the practice of presence and hospitality. Offer spiritual care through the practice of presence and hospitality. So your bodily presence is very important. Your presentation of yourself, the way you speak to someone, your behavior, your whole demeanor towards that situation or that person is very, very important. A lot of people can be hospitable and not really given the hospitality. And so I like the word hospitality because there is a scripture says we must be given to hospitality. And here the hospitality is not only to our own, but to the cross section of the religious, diverse, social and cultural people that we may encounter as chaplains as we help in the disaster spiritual care. And then point number 4, identify and solve immediate concrete problems. Dr. White, would you like to come in and share a thought or two here before we move on?
Yes, I think it's important that as we help others, we begin to realize how essential it is to understand cultures within cultures and how important it is for us to understand our roles. It's not just about coming out to preach and to convert. It's really about giving love and compassion to people in a moment that they need it. And in order for me to give love and compassion, I definitely have to learn hospitality and be present in the moment. You know, I can't be thinking about other stuff and then saying I care about people. So it's very important that I do all these things, but definitely identify and solve the problem immediately by knowing and asking the right question. You know, not just assume that I understand what it is, but asking the right questions to get the right answers.
Thank you, Dr. White. As we move to point number 5, as we continue on our disaster spiritual care, point number 5 says meet, accept, and respect persons exactly as they are. Remember, we are not there to change anyone. We're there to help. We're there to help in their crisis. We're there to bring an amicable solution to whatever the crisis they or individual may be going through. So we must be able to meet, accept, and respect persons exactly as they are. Point number 6, encourage individuals to talk about their experiences while remaining an active listener. So I think one of the key things here is our ability to communicate. For in communicating and the questions that we ask, we are able to extrapolate answers from it so that we can really reach into the heart and into the mind of the people. We just don't want to stay on the bark of the situation. We want to get under the bark and really find out what it is that is, what is the care that this person really needs at this point of time. and not just judge from what we think that we've gathered, but really get to the core of it. So we encourage individuals to talk about their experiences while we remain an active listener. So in other words, we give our heart, we give our minds, we give our eyes, we give our bodies to that individual so we can grasp, we can become one with that person in listening to hear their experiences so we can help as much as we can. Point number 7, recognize normal stress reactions and find or make referrals to resources who will address the immediate problems. And I think we know that stress comes in different levels. And some people handle stress differently. But as chaplains, and again, I like to say this, we are speaking to you as if all of us are chaplains. And so we all will encounter situation. We all will encounter a disaster or something that we need to give that spiritual care. It does not necessitate that we all have to be a pastor or minister of any particular religion, but our training as chaplain should afford us to give that spiritual care and to recognize the level of stress or even normal stress, sometimes just trying to make 2 ends meet, sometimes a mother trying to pull things together in the home. That can be a stress that can really rip the scenes apart. So we must be able to recognize that type of stress to begin with and find or make referrals to resources who can help address the immediate problems that needs to be addressed right away. It can be meals for the children, it could be paying a bill, it could be so many little things, but those little things can become so huge that it can really crack everything apart and thus bring a greater disaster. So as chaplains, we want to be able to recognize those stress. Point number 8, and this is very important for us, we are not to harm anyone. We are not to, and especially by words. We got to be careful. We got to weigh our words. Our words must always be seasoned with grace, seasoned with salt, that will be able to help the individual. Never evangelize, proselytize, or exploit a vulnerable person reacting to a traumatic event, especially in the case of both men and women. There's always a weak area. There's always a chip in the armor that by what we say or what we do, we can make that person become so dependent that they can be exploited, and exploited in ways where sometimes it's financially, sometimes it involves sexual connotations, and those are things that as chaplains we want to avoid as much as possible, because our aim here is to bring care, to bring relief, and to bring healing and help to those that need it at that point in time. Dr. Cheryl White, before we move to the next slide.
Yes, I love point 8 because you're talking about transference. And many times when people are going through something, let's take, for example, a traumatic event of, I've been married for 30 years, I'm getting divorced, and suddenly I find my whole world is upside down. And so if someone comes to help to guide me, sometimes I will do transference, which is I begin to see that person as having a bigger care for me than they actually do. And now I love the fact that they're so willing to listen to me, they care about me, et cetera, and I begin to find myself attracted to that person. And if I, the person that's helping as a chaplain, I'm not careful, I can also find myself in a position where I begin to like this person. So we have to be careful about that. If I can get an extra minute. So this week on traumatic events, there is a young gentleman from 17, I've been trying to help the family with him. 3 weeks ago, because the dad pulled him from what I was doing and started having him do certain things. 3 weeks ago, they called me to say he overdosed and he was in a coma and they were trying to wake him up. So they finally succeeded, but the dad still did not take as much interest in this kid as he should. So 2 days ago, when they went in his bedroom, he was dead. Needless to say, I'm very broken about it. I'm in tears because he's 22 years old. He never stood a chance from I met him at 17 till now. That's a traumatic event. So what am I saying? As a person who understands my role, I really want to strangle his dad. I want to slap him and say to him, why didn't you help the kid? But I have to realize that's not the way. It's a traumatic event. Everybody's upset. They're doing autopsies to see what killed him. And as a person, I have to know that there's the human side of me, but there is the professional side of me. So I have to learn to step down and pray and give them whatever support in this traumatic event I can give them without making it personalized to the emotions as a human being that I might be feeling right now. So that's why I love that part. I cannot do any harm. And I can't preach at them, unfortunately, because then this is not the right time, or place.
Thank you, Dr. White. So we move on to chaplains in a hospital setting. And I know there are some people like hospitals, some people don't like hospitals, but if you have a heart to visit people in the hospitals, then this here will suit us well. Number one, hospitals are healthcare institution which provide patient treatment by specialized staff, equipment with the immediate goals of stabilizing and maintaining the patient, with the hope that patients will experience a full or satisfactory recovery. So that's the purpose of hospitals and healthcare, to provide patients that they will experience a full or satisfactory recovery. Point number two. So we must remember, as chaplain, we do not carry a burden of pastoral care, but share in the privilege of this responsibility with many others. In other words, it's not, we are not carrying the burden of the entire hospital. If it's just one person, or like for example, in Trinidad, we can go through a ward and there is a senior nurse or senior doctor. We ask permission that can we pray for an individual? Can we go to speak to an individual? And even when we go to a bed, we introduce ourselves and we let them know who we are. And then we ask them in a nice way, is it okay if we can pray for you? And if they say yes, we pray. We don't scream or shout, because remember, we are in a place where care is given to those that are sick. So we pray softly. We know what we are praying about. And sometimes we ask, is it okay if we touch your hand? And the person may say yes, or the person may say no. So all those things we respect because we are reaching out to the individual or individuals to try to bring care for them in every possible way. So remember, we don't carry the burden alone, but we share in the privilege of such a wonderful responsibility. And I think when we can learn to love and care for one another, it can really put our hearts in a place where we can function even in a greater capacity. Next slide, Your Excellency. Chaplains in a hospice setting. So we're leaving the hospital, we're going to the hospice settings now. Number one, hospice care is specifically intended for people who are nearing the end of life. Hospice care services are provided by a team of healthcare professionals who maximize, what is the word? Maximize comfort for a terminally ill person by reducing pain, addressing physical and psychological, social and spiritual needs. Now, this is something really big by itself, because everyone may not be trained to deal with a person that is in that condition, and how do you deal with that? So sometimes, even though this may be just be a surface training, and you would, as someone who you may desire to go further into the, apart from being in the hospital, to the hospice, to be able to help terminally ill persons, then you would require of further training. You would require to develop your skills more. So you don't want to walk in there and says to somebody, why don't you die quickly? You know, your aim there is to bring help, to bring peace, to bring comfort to that individual, because death is something that no one wants to really experience, especially to lie in a bed and you have your loved ones that you're not able to speak to. There's so many things that that individual would like to say. And so it is important that as a chaplain, you play a role of a mediator, you address physical conditions, psychological condition, social condition, and also the spiritual needs, because that is what is going to give them the strength to hold on to life as much as they can. Next slide. Excellency, whenever you desire to share, feel free, sir. Then we go into chaplains in law enforcement and emergency service settings. For years, chaplains have been a part or have supported all military, law enforcement, and emergency service agencies nationwide. The purpose of this collaborative service is to, next slide. A, provide spiritual and practical guidance, counsel, advice, and support to all members of the agencies listed above, both sworn and civilian, and their families in the time of need. Now, that's a lot for one chaplain to do, but remember, we are not just working as an individual, we are working as a team, and we can call upon one another, because our role here in an emergency service is to provide, number one, notice the word that is first and foremost, spiritual, and we can provide, or you can provide spiritual guidance to someone, even though you may not be of that person's faith, but you are able to engage that individual as a chaplain to offer that spiritual guidance and practical guidance, counsel to both, number one, the civilians, the families, and members of whether it's the law enforcement, the military. And so, in other words, you're looking at different levels of people that you may be dealing with. So your level or your skill of a chaplaincy will vary from time to time. Dr. White?
Definitely. Last night, while I was at the prison, this actually came up. That while I was there and the pastor, and we were trying to do what we did, we had someone who studies Judaism, Buddhism, different things. And then we had one person in there who decided that he didn't need to respect the other people's religion. And so as a leader in this area, it's so essential to bring it back to respecting people, you know, and their rights to how they worship. And especially when you're dealing with people from different cultures, as you've been saying. So this is very important for us to bear in mind that as a chaplain, we are there not to force people to our way, but to embrace everyone's right to have and see God in their own respective way.
Thank you, Dr. White. Next slide, Your Excellency. Point B, act as a liaison between the religious community and the various agencies, as well as have our chaplains serve as instruments of reconciliation with the public, hence benefiting both the agencies and the public by building positive and open relationships. So when you look at this, you realize that the responsibility or the role of the chaplain is becoming greater within society. To think about that, we are like a bridge. We are building bridges between religious people. We are building bridges between law enforcement and let's say the criminal element. We are building bridges because our aim here is to bring reconciliation within the public. The public must be able to trust the military, trust the law enforcement, trust trust the hospitals. The public must be able to benefit from our chaplaincy as we build positive and open relationships. So a chaplain must be transparent. They must be able to see through you. Your words must not be shady. Our yes must be yes. Our no must be no. So we can provide that positive relationship, an open relationship, to the point that anyone from a child to an adult can come to you with anything, and they know that as chaplains, we are very approachable. We are not rough, tough enough. We are not hoggish, but we are able to give our ear without distraction and to hear what's been happening. Next slide, Excellency. Point number C. As chaplains, to interact with the communities, these agencies serve in a constructive and compassionate manner in times of tragedy, conflict, and crisis by providing a service of presence, education, tolerance, understanding, healing, and hope. And you know, the old saying goes, sometimes one bad apple, that says one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. And sometimes one mishap, whether it's a law enforcement or something, it makes the whole service, the whole military service looks bad. But as chaplains there, we have such a wonderful role, such a beautiful opportunity that's been given to us, a platform, not just a badge or the ID, but our hearts, our minds, our ability to interact, our ability to see beyond, to have insight and foresight into what we are dealing with, so that as we look at these agencies that provides protection and provides help and crisis in a time that they are called upon, even those agencies can be under such stress that as chaplains, we want to be able to help even them also in alleviating the stress and what they themselves are going through. And so I read now chaplains in a correctional facility, and we will have Dr. White speak a little on this, because this is her, this is what she does in the prison. It says, with the complexity of religious issues faced by the large number of religions represented in the inmate population, it is of the utmost importance that chaplains understand their role. Notice that word is, that sentence is underlined, understand their role within the institution they serve. Our mission is as follows. We'll read some. Number one, to accommodate the free exercise of religion by providing pastoral spiritual care to all inmates and facilitate the opportunity to pursue individual religious beliefs and practices in accordance with the law, federal regulation, and prison policy. So you may be a chaplain from another faith, and they may call upon you. Let's say you visit a prison, they may call upon you, and you have to have at least a knowledge of the various religions that is exercised within the prison system, so that you are able, you want to use this word, to become all things to all men, thus help all men as possible. Dr. White, for a few seconds.
I think part of the problem with religion is that people who are, for example, of the Christian faith, sometimes get confused as to, if I embrace someone else's rights to their religion, am I denying mine? Am I setting it wrong? Should I not be always on the podium for preaching? And I think being a chaplain helps you to answer that question, because your role definitely is not conversion. Your role is not to tell people they have to serve your God, your belief system, but rather with, again, compassion and understanding and practicing in accordance to the rules and regulations you were taught. Your role is to bring to people peace, to give them the comfort they need at the time they need it, and definitely to let them know that it's okay if they want to exercise their right to their religion, we are here to support you in whatever way we can.
Can I just make an
Thank you,
interject
Doctor.
there for 1 second?
Sure, Excellency.
See, a lot of chaplaincies and witnesses and people that are Christians tend to believe that they have to always make an effort to evangelize, to win people over. And this is not the case. This is not who we are or what we are about. The gospel has been so misguided and misinterpreted as far as how we are to represent Christ. See, one of the things that we do is, if we really want to represent Christ as chaplains, we are really ambassadors of Christ. And it's not about saying Jesus or amen or hallelujah or praise the Lord. Okay, go to mom. The thing about this is that if you can show love to someone and walk away without telling them praise the Lord or give your heart to Christ today because you're going to die and go to hell. Believe it or not, after you leave and you're on your own and they're on their own, if anything, and you have left them with a thought of someone showed me love because of the love of Christ, you don't have to say a single word. It's all about sharing the love of Christ, not as being superficial, but genuinely care and show that you care. That's all that really matters. Our goal here should not be to change people or cause them to do anything different other than to become better. And that's our mission. That's who we're supposed to be. That's the way we ought to represent ourselves and represent Christ if we really want to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Point number 2, as chaplains work in a correctional facility, our chaplains will assist the staff chaplain, the main chaplain, in providing religious worship, education, counseling, spiritual direction, support, and crisis intervention to accommodate the diverse religious needs of inmates. So there again, we upgrade our skills. We probably can set an appointment to meet the staff chaplain, sit and chat with him or her, find out what are the protocols, the various religion. Maybe there may be a manual that they use or something that they use that you can glean from, that we can glean from, that it will help us as chaplains. If we go into a prison and a correctional facility, we'll be able to help in their religious worship and education and counseling, because remember, the whole purpose of us as chaplain is to bring release, to bring comfort, to bring healing, to bring edification, to bring that person to a place where that individual from the correctional facility can fit into society and function normally without being ostracized or looking as if he or she is still in a correctional facility. Point number 3, like in hospitals, orientation and additional training will be provided by the pastoral care department at the correctional facility. So there may be days that you can go in if you desire to flow into that aspect of chaplaincy. There may be training within the facility that you can challenge yourself in, so you're able to effectively minister all that is necessary to those as a chaplain in the correctional facility. We look at domestic violence and abuse, elder abuse, child abuse, and neglect. And this is very prevalent across the earth. Domestic abuse, known also as spousal abuse, occurs when one person in an intimate relationship or marriage tries to dominate and control the other person. And that's been happening. And just going to read a slide or two, and then I'm going to bring in Dr. White here. Can we go to the next slide, Excellency? People who are being abused may, number 1, seem afraid or anxious to please their partner. Number two, to go along with everything their partner says and does. Number three, check in often with their partner to report where they are and what they are doing. Number four, receive frequent harassing phone calls from their partner. And number five, talk about their partner's temper, jealousy, or possessiveness. All these are pointers as chaplains we can sense from an individual that is being abused or neglect, that we must be able, if I should use the word intuition, being spiritual, we must be able to pick up on these things and realize that the person is being abused and needs help. Next slide. People who are being physically abused may, number one, have frequent injuries with the excuse of accidents. Number two, frequently miss work, school, or social occasions without explanation. Number three, dress in clothing designed to hide bruises or scars, wearing long sleeves in the summer or sunglasses indoors. Now, all these are, we could say, self-explanatory, but there is still little fine lines that sometimes we can miss. And we are almost to the end, but I'm going to ask Dr. White, because I know she have had the experience with that area. So can you share a thought or two there, Dr. White?
Well, I love, this is a topic that's very sensitive for a lot of people. And, when we think about abuse, we have to remember to include men, because there are men who are being abused as well. And it's even harder for the man, because he has a taboo that's attached to him, a stigma that says, how can a man be abused? He's stronger, he's, in most cases taller, etc. So we have to think about it in terms of, why do people abuse? What is it they get out of it? There is a research that's being done where people are beginning to ask the question, what would make a man or a woman abuse someone that they so much love? Because this is deeper, it's all about the heart, and those who are being abused, it's a cycle for them. It's very difficult for them to come out of it, because oftentimes there's so many components to it. It's not just the physical. It can be the financial, it can be the neglect, it can be verbal, et cetera, et cetera. And so I love the do's and don'ts that you're about to show us, because these are so important, when we think about helping someone we suspect is going through this.
Thank you, Dr. White. And so we continue in our domestic violence and abuse, elder abuse, child abuse, and neglect. And we're going to look at some do's and don'ts. Do's, number one, ask if something is wrong. Number two, express concern. Number three, listen and validate. Number four, offer help. Number five, support his or her decision. I think in understanding the do's, that person must be able to trust you as a chaplaincy, must be able to say that I can put my confidence in you, so that they can communicate their heart to you, so that you're able to help that person that is being abused, whether it's a man or a woman, especially children that can be abused and don't have a voice to speak out as such. So we just had the do's, now we're going to look at the don'ts. Don't, number one, wait for him or her to come to you. Number two, don't judge or blame. Number three, don't put him or her under pressure. And number four, don't place conditions on your support. So as chaplains, we understand the do's. Now we must understand the don'ts. That is very, very important for us as we deal with the person that is being abused in that given situation. So we continue. Point number one, we must be able to talk to the person in private and let him or her know that you are concerned. So in other words, that individual must feel your heart They must feel our concern. They must feel our care. They must be able to feel that coming out, coming, because there's a lot of emotions that will be giving out there because of what the individuals are experiencing. Point number two, point out the things you have noticed that make you worried. Sometimes the person may be fidgety, maybe biting their nails, maybe always looking at their phone, looking at, probably playing with something, always like if there's a noise, they kind of jump, so because they're actually in fear. So those are the things that you can point out to that individual while you are having that conversation that you notice that makes you worried or makes you concerned. Point number three, tell the person that you are there whenever he or she feels ready to talk. So sometimes you may go into a private conversation and you may just sit there because the person is not ready to talk, and you can't yank it out of person. You cannot force it out of the individual. You cannot color them and says, you better spill it out. No, you gotta be prepared to sit there with love, with patience, with understanding, and don't look like, man, I'm tired of being here. You look at your watch or you're answering your phone calls or all kinds of stuff. No, you got to make that person comfortable. You sit there and you endure what that person is enduring. You feel what that person is feeling. And when that person is ready to open up, you are there ready to receive all that person wants to pour out to you. So tell the person that you're ready whenever he or she feels ready to talk. Point number four, reassure. And that's something we may have to do constantly. Reassure the person that you will keep whatever is said between the two of you, and let him or her know that you would help in any way you can. In other words, when you give your word, or when we give our words, we must endeavor to keep our words. In other words, you must do yourself hurt in order to keep your word to that individual. That's the beauty of a chaplain. You give your person a word, you reassure the person that whatever they said to you will be held in absolute confidence. It stays in your heart, it's not going out of your heart, no one knows about it. And you let that person know, look, I will help you in any which way I can. And next slide, Excellency. Number five, remember, abusers are very good at controlling and manipulating their victims. And I think we all have seen, and probably some way or the other experienced, and we have seen sometimes in movies, if you look at movies, try to project that real life abusing and controlling and manipulating of their victims. And so abusers are very good at that. So all these are things that we need to consider. Point number six, people who have been emotionally abused or battered are depressed, drained, scared, ashamed, and confused. And those are the ones who are like a trigger. They can go off very easily. They're like a time bomb. They can explode. They can probably commit suicide, or they'll throw themselves off a bridge, or do something that would say, well, look, I am tired of it. I'm going to end my life, or I'm going to do something really crazy. So there are a lot of people, both men and women, emotionally abused, battered, depressed, drained, scared, ashamed, and confused. And sometimes the person may not really be beaten, and let me say physically, but the abuse of the words, the constant putting down, the constant humiliating of that individual's, like if the individual is nothing at all. And because of that, over the years, presently I'm counseling with a young man. He's in his 30s, and he's telling me, and I'm getting him to pour his heart out. And he says, from a very small age, his father have been abusing him. And so he grew up in an abuse home, and so he went from one abuse to another. And I am there with him, trying to get everything out of his heart because it has made him so bitter that he is in a marriage and he's even becoming bitter against his wife and his children. And so I am there now counseling, standing with him, working with him so that he will be able to come out of the situation that he is in and be a blessing to his family, and do not repeat or let it become a recycle that he begins to abuse those around him, his family, his work, his fellow workers in another form or in another setting. Point number 7, they need help to get out. There's not a person who is not abused, don't want to get out one way or the other. Yet they've often been isolated from their family and their friends. And so as chaplains, our role here is to help in whatever way we can to help that person get out of the situation, of the abuse, of the depressive state that they're in, the confused state they're in. Our role there is to help. And point number 8, by picking up on the warning signs, and those are the things that as chaplains, we must be able to recognize the warning signs, the sign that the different signs that is giving out from the individual. Sometimes the individuals can be sending out signals to you as a chaplain while you communicate with them. And if we are not there to recognize those signals, then we can miss the opportunity of offering the support and help that that person needs. So by picking up on the warning signs and offering support, you can help them escape an abusive situation and begin a long healing process. I use the word long because it will be a long healing process. And that's where, as a chaplain, you really come in to carry them through until there is healing. Dr. White?
Yeah, when I see this slide, I think about how it mirrors human trafficking and how so many people are abused with human trafficking. And you have to be able to see the signs and to be able to listen. And one of the things about active listening is you have to wait. You have to wait for the person, like you're saying, Bishop, to open up and express to you, because many abused person, whether it be through human trafficking or domestic violence or any of these areas, have gone through it perhaps when they were children. And so many are conditioned into believing this is normal because maybe they saw their father and their mother going through it. And so when they got involved in it, they thought this is just a normal way that people relate in relationships. And so it's so deep rooted that definitely as chaplains, we must be very versed in picking up the signs and offering the right type of support so that we can help them not only to escape what they're going through, but to overcome it and become victorious in this area of their life so that we don't continue, the ritual of abuse from one generation to another. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. White. I'd just like to add something here because I think we are at the end of our slide. I think one of the things that we must understand is that if we are chaplains and we function in that role, and if we have had an issue in our lives, let's say whatever form of abuse, we have to be careful not transferring that to the individual that we are helping, because it can happen so easily that that person, that man or woman that we are helping or speaking with, they can probably have the similar experience that we have been through as chaplain, and that we can begin to speak out of our pain and our hurt and transfer that and not realize that our aim here is not to transfer that, but to help to bring healing and restoration to that man or to that woman, or even to that child or that elderly man or woman because of the abuse. Excellency, I hand over to you, and I thank you kindly for the privilege of sharing on this platform.
Okay, great. So we have
Thank you, Dr. White.
of
Appreciate
our
you.
chaplaincy training. We want to say thank you very much to everyone for taking this session once again. It's very, very challenging when we start understanding the needs of the chaplain. We, however, can make such a great difference in the lives of people once we understand how to identify the needs and then how to assist and fill those needs, fill the gap, be a bridge to the people that needs us. So I'm going to open this up now for questions and discussions. Pastor Paul, I see that you're with us. I'm going to ask you to come on first.
Greetings, everyone, Your Excellency, and everyone that is on the program. Blessings to you. I have a question. And my question is, me being also a pastor and in Christian circles, and sometimes you come across, in fact, you come across people all the time that needs direction, that needs help in domestic situations, and they're not of my particular religious persuasions. And in my dealings and in my counsel with them, sometimes they tend to want to give, their hearts, as we would say, to the Lord. Now I understand we don't, as a chaplain, we don't preach per se, but when you come across situations like this and people are in very high emotions, what do you think, how should we approach people in this distress who want to make these decisions for Christ with the thought that it will help them to improve their lifestyle and help get them out of that situation they are in?
Okay, that's a good question. People in distress often becomes vulnerable. And the first sign of hope they tend to cling to, it could be a male friend or a female friend or the neighbor next door, or it could be someone down the street in the store where they go and make groceries. It could be in the pharmacy. It could be anybody. But when you're in distress, the first sign of hope is where you want to go. And I would say from a Christian perspective, if we are chaplains ministering to people on the level of a chaplain and they are in need, we minister to the need first. If they have a desire to give their hearts to Christ, I'm not saying that we should not facilitate that. That has to be a total conscious decision by them. But I don't think it should be a rushed decision, because giving your heart to Christ is as simple as confessing with your mouth and telling him, Lord, I give my heart to you, come into my life and change me. End of story. You don't have to go throwing water on your head and go taking an oil bath and going down the street and running to the river and all of that. It's superficial and it's over exaggerated and it's been misused for too long.
Right.
The key here is ministering to the person at the point of their need. And if they have a desire to give their hearts to Christ, on our part, we should not rush that. However, if they want to do it, it's right at that very location where they are, whether they dressed, with their best dress or they don't have their best dress on. God does not care about how you dress. He does not care about how great you speak as a public speaker. He doesn't care about if your hair is not done. But I guess the basis of all of this, what I'm really trying to get at is that we should not force that on anybody. It should be a conscious decision that is made without pressure. I do not believe in pressuring people to become a Christian. That to me, that is wrong. Okay. As Christians, we are supposed to facilitate people, show them the love of Christ. That's our job. That's our duty. That is what we do. I can go many different directions there, but I don't want to take it to elaborate too much on that. Does that answer your question, Pastor Paul?
I have another aspect of that question. Is it okay?
Go ahead.
As I'm speaking, not as a chaplain here right now, I'm speaking as a pastor, and also with the light and understanding of the duties of the chaplain. So we come across people and we counsel, we share the love, we share our love for them, we show our concern for them, we help them and we bring them to a certain place of understanding and also being helped, having great improvement in themselves. And sometimes people, when they reach a certain aspect of development and being helped, they think there's okay, and then they go on their own. And when the program that you're really working on with them is not really finishes yet, and they go out on their own, things happen and they go right back to the situation, they get back worse, and then they come right back to you. Now, how do you deal with that in terms of a person, a chaplain, a pastor, and also dealing with emotions?
I would prefer not get into that at the moment, Pastor Paul, because that's more of a pastoral response that I would have to give. And today's program, I don't want to really take it that direction. Not that we can't. I'm always ready. So we would leave that
Thank
here
you
for
so
now.
much. Thank you so much. It was very enlightening.
All right. I know, Professor Batsy, I know you had a question. You had your hands up. You put it down. But you're smiling. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to come on. Unmute, Professor. You're smiling. we want to.
Sorry. Okay. Hi, everyone in the house.
Hello, Professor.
It's a deep morning over here. It's about 12 a.m.
Okay.
So I can still say good morning.
Okay.
My sincere apology, like I've chatted for my long absence. It was due to duty schedule.
It's all right.
Yeah. Frankly, like I did express my first remarks, this is a very wonderful class, and I'm being refreshed, and I'm also being educated, afresh. Informations that I have, especially on the school of the religion and that of domestic abuse, are very, very close, to my situation, right now, and I'm very conversant with them like that. Okay, but let me make my contribution before I complement the teaching. My contribution to the last question, to the last questionnaire, Dr. Paul. Yes, our focus here from the class is that we see ourselves as professional ambassadors, of peace, not just as pastors. So our responsibility first and foremost is to perform our duties as, professional, peacemakers, devoid our religion. But from whatever background you are coming, in, your attitude, your professional attitude will even portray your religious faith. Christ talks about love for the enemies. It talks about care for the prisoners. It talks about, love, charity. And so when you come by a situation where a victim who is either abused or is in prison, is seeing you as a neutral person who is coming first, to make him his friend, and then also trying to recapture his mind to make him feel that irrespective of his circumstance he finds himself today, first, he is a human being, and is entitled to his moral right, the natural right, and the natural respect. You begin to approach him from that professional point. At the end of the day, you may end up winning the person's heart, and then not exposing your religion particularly, because the person might not have the faith you have, might not be in your faith. And so at the end of the day, your impressive, service to him may call for more details of your background, after which you can then win the person back to Christ. So our idea is not just to go and win them to Christ in order for us to compel them to be born again. Yeah, if you have your superior religion, fine, but present it professionally with your character, portraying your master. Then they will come in to ask more questions and they will submit. So I think church, should not be our focus here, because we are all pastors. For instance, I'm an archbishop. But on this professional grounds, let's do the professional things and do the needful, and then bring in other ones to complement. Thank you. Then,
Professor,
in the aspect of, yes,
Professor,
sir.
you're a man after
Yes,
my
sir.
own heart.
Thank you, sir.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you, sir. So in the aspect of religion, we must necessarily, if we must succeed in this ambassadorial service, which is from Christ, who has appointed us as ambassadors of Christ, to reconcile people back. So our reconciliation is not only to reconcile them to Christ, we should reconcile them from their own emotional negative tendencies back to the society, to capture the love of the society and bring them back. That whatever circumstance they find themselves, they could be like Joseph, who went to prisons and become, so some of them may have been there for the wrongs they have done. They're serving for that wrong. Some of them must have been there for them to be processed by God. So let's respect their religion and do a professional bit. Then number two, the abuse. There are some people who are very, in fact, they are abused from childhood, and they live by this memory. And it becomes difficult for you to pension. Sometimes it becomes spiritual. And that's where we will also come in as pastors, to go beyond the physical. If you try the professional approach, you also go into the spiritual, to conduct a deliverance by praying and fasting, particularly for that particular fellow, and in a way, it could be genetic. They may be, transcendental, they may be generational. It may be in the forefathers, in the fathers, and when it comes through the genetic lineage, you need a spiritual approach also. So let's combine the two where it is necessary, and which one comes first. Thank you very much. And I want to thank every resource person and all the participants. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Noble Thornton, you had a thought there.
Peace, love, and light to everybody in their respectful places. So I had a question on the abuse from people going through, like, just say they don't want to talk about it, but we're able to see visible scarring or bruising. And furthermore, what if the abuse is driving that person to want to harm themselves?
Dr. White.
So in COVID, as an example, we saw a surge when it came to domestic violence, because people last year in particular were contained, they were confined in homes that has a lot of abuse and there was no way to escape. So one of the things that we encourage people to do is that you can create harm if you try to interact openly with someone who's going through something of that severe level. So the best thing we recommend people to do is, if you suspect, it doesn't mean you know it's 100%, but you suspect that there is some abuse and that this person is at their lowest point, to call the different hotlines that are trained. And I think when we were teaching the chaplaincy, we talked about sometimes it's outside of your scope and you can't handle it. So that is why we should always have those special numbers available where we can call in the ones who can do what they need to do to help that person, because good intentions sometimes can go haywire. So I recommend that if you think it's going to go that bad and you don't know how to approach them, then call in the professionals who can get in there and rescue that person.
Yep.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
All right, at this time, I want to acknowledge His Royal Majesty Kasum. Your Majesty. Your Majesty, are you there? You may not be hearing us. All right, Cletus, you with us? Hello, Cletus.
Hold on, sir.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Cletus comes from the position of being a police officer in St. Lucia.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chief Kalloo.
Yes, we're here.
Yes, I actually just came from work, just arrived home from work.
That's all right.
Listening. Of course, what was shared was very important. Sometimes, you take certain things for granted. And as a chaplaincy agent, I guess you have to consider that you are not solely there to change hearts, but to provide assistance, which of course can help persons change their hearts. I guess I never really saw the chaplaincy ministry like that before, because sometimes, our original intent was basically to help our fellow colleagues to make, Christ their personal Lord and Savior. And I guess there are certain dangers in that, because we know that persons have their own beliefs. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yeah, certain persons have their own belief, and probably when you try to assist them and you try to probably bring your own belief on them, it may prevent you from actually providing that assistance to them. They might not be receptive. So I guess the information that was shared has given me a better, insight as to what chaplaincy is all about and how to administer it so that you can be effective in going forward. So of course, that's good information, and it's my intention, of course, to discuss with my other colleagues as it relates to that, so we can be careful as it relates to executing chaplaincy ministry in the force and of course in our country. So thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother. All right, Kimberly Grant.
Yes, good evening to everyone. As always, it's always a blessing and a privilege to be amongst these lectures. I tell you, it's a great training this evening. I'm glad we were able to get through it this week. I know we had some difficulties the last time, but it's always informative, and I agree wholeheartedly about the difference between chaplaincy and evangelism. And so thank you so much for bringing much clarity to that and our prospective places as chaplains. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Grant. Before we get to the end and most people drop off, I would like to ask the people that's on the panel, if you can please put on the chat, send me your contact information. There's quite a few people we do not have any contact information for. So please just send a text on the chat now with your contact information, phone number, and email, and I'll pick it up later on. Dr. Winston McKenzie. Unmute. We can't hear you. You have to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now yes.
Well, Dr. Kiwi, as ever, my congratulations to you, your panel, and these amazing people that I've come into contact with yet again. Thank you is all I can say. And I hope to be in a position, in the next few weeks or whatever, to continue your work outside this agenda. And I've learned so much from what you've all had to say. And your delivery, I'm not giving you praises for no reason. Your delivery is excellent, my man. And I thank you very much. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my feelings.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. McKenzie. Pastor John.
Good evening, Dr. Kiwi and all my Zoom family. And again, I am truly blessed. And even as we talk about helping, especially those who are going through abuse, our job should be to help people get out, bring healing and restoration. But sometimes in this process, it's very difficult. I remember we had a close call. I had a close call. One of the brethren who was involved in some abuse, and the bishop told me immediately, let's go. I told him it's not the right time. He said, what are you talking about? And when we arrived there, it was
We lost you there, Pastor John. All right, we'll come back to Pastor John in a moment. Dr. Patricia Darko. Dr. Patricia.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, there's Patricia Darko here from Ghana. It's always exciting to be part of this amazing family. We are learning so much, and I'm really mulling over and absorbing everything, because I believe that wherever we find ourselves, we have to be useful. I'm actually in academia, dealing with a lot of students and with issues. In fact, a lot of issues, and I'm so happy I'm getting all these tips on how to really be more impactful and more useful and relevant to the suffering students. I'm really, really grateful for, everything that is happening on the platform. And I believe that it will translate into me being more efficient and more useful and relevant to my students and even those beyond that will encounter that may have issues. Yes, I'm praying that this platform will even get more and more popular. And I think what is being done here, Chief, is beyond just us here. The world will have to know about what you are doing, and a lot more peace ambassadors will have to get the tips so that we don't go shoving down our religion into the throats of people, but just letting them feel the love of Christ through how we act and how we interact with them. So I'm grateful for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to more weeks of getting more nuggets of wisdom from all the wise panel here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Patricia. So on the oncoming training, we are going to be using the same link for everyone's knowledge. The same link would work for the Tuesdays and the Thursdays. But this coming Tuesday, we're going to have the second session of Women's Empowerment Initiative. Looking forward to that, because we have some great, very great, awesome panel that's on. And we are inviting all the men, all the women, invite as many as you can, and let's come on and show our support. Some great things coming up there. So, and on top of that, we want to keep encouraging everybody to please text us your contact so we can have your contact information to keep you updated on the different trainings that we will be having. We can send out the invites to the people that we don't have the contacts for. Sometimes it becomes challenging and we not able to reach you. But thank you very much. We've come to the end of this session today. I want to say thank you to everyone. Let me just acknowledge Esther Duff here. Esther, how are you?
Hi, good night. I'm fine. Thank you very much. The night session was really interesting because sometimes we feel that we are equipped, but having listened to the presentation, which was really awesome tonight, you realize where you can find more strength, find more information that you can impart. So I'm really grateful for this training and I thank you so much for having me.
Okay, great. Thank you, Esther. Empress Monisoy.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, Empress.
I just want to say, give honors to everyone on the call. Thank you again for a great training session.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Clan Mother Running Wolf.
Peace and love, Your Excellency.
Hi.
Peace and love, everyone on the panel. Excellent lesson as always. I had already been like counseling people and helping people to the best of my abilities prior to these meetings, and I take notes every time I come up here. So everything that I'm learning here definitely helps me help people better and more efficiently. So I'm eternally grateful for each and everybody up here, and I love you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Chief Elsom. Chief Levi.
Peace.
Greetings.
Greetings. I was on the road like 2 minutes ago. My phone just died. I was trying to get back on.
That's all
To
right.
say, man, another great lecture for tonight. It's very empowering to hear the Queen speak and let their voices be heard, because we need balance in everything that we do. And it's great that Chief Kiwi you took great deal and great honors to put this panel together, and for that you deserve great honors, and everybody honors to everyone on the panel. Peace to my brother Ms. Kwaki and his clan mother and everybody on the panel.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Our great mission here is to be able to serve, and we're grateful to have this opportunity to serve. Chief Meswaki.
Yes, thank you, His Excellency, Chief Governor, Dr. Kiwi, and also Joseph Lamar, Bishop. Very great introduction and explanation on the key roles of leadership and being a chaplain. Also, the great deal of all different types of abuses that go on, in our communities, our city towns. A lot of times the local authorities are, contacted based on these domestic disputes. And at times we do have to send others in when we find ourselves incapable of assisting people who are going through their stress. And it's very important that we understand this about ourselves. When it is the right time to make the correct step or to step back and allow someone else to assist. So I appreciate that, that one part of that lesson tonight and all of the great deal of information that has been expressed. I look forward to Women's Empowerment on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you once again.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Clan Mother Red Wolf.
Greetings, everyone. Peace and love. Another great lesson. I'm thankful to be amongst you guys. I'm thankful for all the knowledge and the experience, and especially to take away the actively listening, because it is so important to listen to someone and not be biased in judging them, because we get judged so much every day by how we look, what we wear, if you're not a part of the crowd, these certain things. So when people come to you, it's so important to not judge them and to listen. So I'm thankful for this lesson and thankful to be amongst you guys. And I look forward to seeing you guys on Tuesday.
Thank you. Same here. Looking forward to it. His Royal Majesty Nana Noble. Your Majesty, Nana.
Peace and bliss.
Blessings, blessings, Your Royal Majesty.
Thank you, His Excellency. How are you?
Oh, good. We're good. We're good. Happy to have you with us.
Awesome. Delighted to be among the greatness. The historic momentum is in the making. My phone was on mute. I happened to be one outside, and the screensaver goes off. So I had to log back into the phone, of course, mobile device. Listening with the attentiveness, and as many have already said, given two great honors for that which we have put together, and staying steadfast, keeping the momentum flowing. It is great to see that everyone is giving their input as they can. And as it is often mentioned, not being biased. As when we were younger, we were also, or myself, was informed as, do not absorb everything personally, observe everything around you. And with that, it was more so not overstand, recognize, or understand someone else's situation that occurs. It was more so to look for the good in everything, to make sense of it, to then thereby come up with solutions to improve it. As the topic often comes up with religion, it was always said, for the most part, around to not debate politics and religion. And because, of course, everyone is understanding relation or understanding from their level of perception or their level of comprehension.
Yes.
So it was more so to see that everyone has their life that they choose to live, their faith or religious persuasion as they see fit to improve their life. When we, amongst the world, as goodwill ambassadors, have that keen insight, and from that what you have put together, which complements that keen insight, to not look at it from one's own perspective alone. Know thyself and to know the world around us. We coexist with many. And for one to overburden someone else with their persuasion is not justice to oneself or the other. To look at the situation that confronts us all on this planet that coexists is to also become knowledgeable of others cultivating in the regions, territories in which they are raised, to become more effective in our dealing with or assisting, complementing, improvement of a situation. I add that to that which the platform consists of, which is excellent put together. Compliments to Empress Moniswa from the original invite. And she sees, for the most part, that I interact with many around the globe as well. And it's never from a position of I, me. It is a collective of what we all can do on this planet to improve the quality of life of one another, to understand, and relate to others' persuasions, and that again, as a remembrance that they or each understands from their level of perception or comprehension.
Well, thank you very much, Your Royal Majesty. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate you making the time to be with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. My brother, Jairus Liebird.
Good night, all. Once again, I'm grateful for this opportunity to join the session. Good night, Dr. Kiwi. Good night to my brothers and sisters across the globe. I want the key takeaway from this lesson this evening for me is able to listen, learn to listen, and listen skillfully. I've been taught once that no one ever taught you to, teach us to listen. So listening become a problem to most of us. I am grateful for the opportunity that we can put aside all bias while we try to listen to other people's worries and fears and try to help them to comfort those same worries. So I just want to give thanks for the session, and it's very empowering for me, and I can extract from it each session, something to develop my interpersonal skills, and I'm grateful.
Thank you so much. Dr. Comfort. Hi, Dr. Comfort.
Hi. A pleasant evening, Your Excellency, Chief Governor.
Yes, good evening to you,
Dr. Kiwi, and all the great men and women on this platform. Nice seeing you again this evening.
Same
What a
here.
wonderful
Happy to have you.
lecture. Yeah, what a wonderful lecture. It's so awesome. And I was glad how the presentation came around, making a distinction between professionalism and chaplaincy, and then as an evangelist going out to win souls for the kingdom of God. Thanks so much. I'm looking forward to the Monday's presentation on the women empowerment. And I know that the great women who will be on the panel are going to lift our souls up and then encourage us. May the Lord richly bless you and everybody who is on.
God bless you. All right, so next Tuesday at 6 p.m., same time, same link, we will be on with the women's empowerment. Please invite someone out. Let's encourage the women to be women that will step out and be themselves and not be afraid to do so. Thank you everyone for a great session this evening. To the panels, Bishop Lamotte, with great acknowledgement and respect and honor to you. Thank you very much. Dr. White, much respect and honor. Thank you for being part of us and doing such a wonderful job. As everyone can see, it's not about, I don't want this panel to be about me. I'm just one person, but as a team, as a group, we can do a lot more. So we are expanding the team, we're expanding the panel, and our mission is to bring change. We want to first bring change within us and help to bring change in our community, then our city, then our nation, and so touching the world. All right, so I want to say God bless you. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Much blessings. Have a pleasant night.
Peace and love to all. Blessings to you all.
All right. God bless.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Night,
Until
good night.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Peace and blissful night on to all.
Blessings.
Good night, everyone.
Peace and light.
Good night.
Good night.
Blessings to you all.
Good night, everyone. Dr. Lamotte.
Good night, sir.
Good night, Pastor John.
Yes, good night, Dr. Kiwi. Expect our call.
Will do. Blessing.
Blessings to all.